What I find interesting about the interventions by actors or footballers or sundry other people who aren't professional politicians is that there's nothing in it for them. And yet, by putting their head above the parapet, they invite astonishing amounts of criticism and abuse. Hugh Grant, you're fairly near the top of that list, I think, of people who have put their heads above the parapet. So the obvious question is why? What's in it for you?
Well, I feel like a Coke can that's been rolling around the bottom of a car for too long, and someone needs to pull the ring. And because I'm just angry, and worried. And I'm not normally like that. Not a general election comes up, I take a moderate interest. And if, say, the Conservatives get in, I think, well, it wouldn't have been my choice, but at least, they'll be fiscally responsible or something like that. And this time round, I think it's a very, very different beast. I think now that they've kicked out their moderate, decent, responsible element, we're facing something very dark and very scary. And for the first time in my 59 years, I really am worried for the country. And as a dad and all that, I suppose that's what I am. I'm a militant centrist dad.
And it is the tactical voting banner under which you've marched most forcefully. Just explain to people still not clear on precisely what that means. What that means.
Well, it means that without any question, the Conservatives will win the election tomorrow unless people can suspend their tribalism, which is not. I'm not saying that in a pejorative, negative way. People, feel very strongly about the parties they've supported for years. But the Tories will win tomorrow if everyone just votes for the party that they've always adhered to and loved. If they could, in many, many, many constituencies in this country, if people could lend their vote tomorrow, who normally vote for a progressive non-Tory party, if they could lend their vote perhaps to the other progressive party, which is best placed right behind a Conservative to topple that Conservative, then they won't get their majority and the country at least is temporarily saved. So you have to go to one of these tactical voting websites. The big three, Remain United, People's Vote, Best for Britain, have now amalgamated, finally, thank God, all giving exactly the same advice. And any of those three would be a great place for people to go to and have a chance to actually make a difference with their vote and take out a Tory.
Your concerns clearly are much wider than Brexit. I didn't realise that. I wondered whether you were simply one of those people who is very keen to slam the brakes on Brexit, but you speak of much broader concerns.
Yeah, it did begin with me with Brexit. And I speak as someone who was rather bewitched for a moment by some of the Brexit slogans 3 years ago, because like everyone else, I knew nothing about it. No one had any interest in our relationship with the EU 3 years ago. And I got interested and started reading about it. And it became clearer and clearer that this was just an awful idea and that the slogans were lies and that the EU, imperfect though it undoubtedly is, had been scapegoated, made the reason for people having pretty crap lives in this country, which they unquestionably do. And, so I was originally angry about Brexit, but I have to say, since Boris Johnson took over the leadership of the Conservative Party, I've just got more and more worried and angry about what he and his henchmen, the sort of Dominic Cummings of this world, are getting up to. When they prorogue Parliament illegally, lie to the Queen, seem absolutely ready to effectively break up the United Kingdom, hiving off Northern Ireland. This is scary stuff. And I felt that, everyone really needs to stand up and say that, okay, no, this is not politics in the normal British way. This is something darker and bleaker, and it's got to stop.
And I sense, I'm not going to get the scoop here, you haven't been tempted by your interventions in this election to consider a political career at any point in the future.
Well, I was a bit.
Really?
But I find it impossible to cram my political instincts, such as they are, into one political box. I would never really be very good at taking orders and following the party line. And it's nice to have that flexibility where if I change my mind, I change my mind. So maybe, if I can be useful at all, I'm more useful just sort of campaigning rather than standing.
So you don't see this as the end of the line necessarily then? Whatever happens tomorrow?
Well, I don't, the way the parties are set up at the moment. If all moderate Labour people and the whole of the Lib Dem party and moderate Tories wanted to unite under a kind of rescue party banner. That appeals to me.
Do you think
But I don't think that's going to happen.